Hey, Xhammer. Hail Satan. Just kidding. Um, I actually do agree with you on one point you made in your video that when a lot of times when people who believe in God are confronted, they will often say things like, well, if there's a creation, there must be a creator. I think that them coming to that premature assumption without backing it up is false. However, I don't necessarily believe that their conclusion that there is a God is false. I think that their method of reasoning in that way is. Um, so I do agree with you on that. But I noticed that in your video you cited logic as the sort of driving force behind the reason why you don't believe that there is a God. And I'm here to say that I don't think that logic is a sufficient method. I don't think logic in and of itself, logical reasoning or rationality, is false by any means. I think it's very useful. I think it's only useful for certain things, actually. Uh, Utilitarian, I guess you could say, that logic and science, things like this, are used in order to improve our lives here on Earth, to improve, medical research, research and development in other fields, things like this. But I think logical reasoning is insufficient in the way that you're trying to use it, and that many others are. Uh, that they cite that as the sort of source that they get their conclusion that there is no God. I think that is wrong. And the reason I say that is that human awareness is so limited. Human anything is so limited. That's where I sometimes differ with many believers in God. Humans, more or less, have such a finite awareness that to me, saying that it is within the human capacity to make a conclusion regarding God, whether or not he actually exists, saying that we have that capacity, that we somehow have that ability and our methods to come up conclusively with whether or not there is a God, I think that is wrong. I think that is naive to say. A metaphor I would think of would be that if you had, say, a clear glass, maybe a fishbowl or something, um, tra- a transparent material, and inside this fishbowl you had a perceptive being, someone who could see and be aware, an aware being. Um, from the inside looking out of this clear material from the inside, they would assume that everything outside of this fishbowl, everything outside, is within their capacity to see and to understand. Maybe not now, but eventually. That it's within their capacity, however. But from the outside of this fishbowl looking in, you can see the limited space. You can see the limitations that these beings, these metaphorical beings inside actually have, that they cannot see. These are finite borders where it's enclosed. So to them, their awareness is infinite and can take them to ever greater heights. Um, but to the outside looking in, it's obviously not. And I think that if there is a God, that must be his perspective as far as how aware his humans are. Um, so my point being that logic is not wrong, but it is insufficient when discussing things extra cosmological like God. Um, I actually did used to believe that. I used to believe, or rather not believe, that God exists. And I did come to the conclusion deductively by logic, by rationality. But then it came to me that logic is not sufficient, that human awareness is finite. So to say that it's within our capacity to know either way, I believe is false. I think both for religious or believing people as well as for non-believing people, it is false to say that we could actually somehow conclusively know or prove that there is a God. So I'd hate to sound cliche, but it pretty much does come down to faith or not faith, however you believe, because human awareness is so very limited when it comes to things. Um, when it comes to the known universe that we actually do know of, that we can measure, we only know a fraction of a percent of it. The highest physicists have said this, that we only know a fraction of a percent of our immediate surroundings as far as the galaxies and the universe are concerned. So how could we possibly come to any sort of conclusion about things that are so theoretical? And I think in the theoretical realm is where God will have to remain. Things like God, divinity, transcendence, spirituality, things like this, I think they will always have to remain theoretical because they're theory. So that's what I wanted to say. Thanks.